morning, everybody. It is Social Stirrage with Fly and Mo. Today, we are talking about why your brokers are not bought in on social media and how we can fix that. We, the proverbial we, because you're part of it too. Just saying. Good morning and happy Tuesday. Happy February. Already.
I forgot it was Groundhog Day yesterday until like right at the end. And I actually asked my daughter if they did Groundhog Day stuff at school. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay. Like for all the moms in the group chat that are mad about the curriculum, like I'm going to die on this hill, the Groundhog Hill. No.
Agreed. They don't do the stuff that they used to do when we were kids. And I know I realize I'm like 12 years older than you, 15 years older than you, but they don't do the fun stuff. Good morning, Holly Pennington. Good morning, Red.
I'm not on the gram. I'm on my gram. I'm not on yours. I was too excited.
But yeah, Groundhog Day. And then who was it that posted that? I think it was Allison in the Elite Series chat posted that Punxsutawney Phil doesn't have like a real good record. However, there's like some possum in Alabama that has an 84% like rating, and he says we're gonna have an early spring. So I believe the possum.
The cold did finally break in Louisiana, and I'm just like, it's been cold, but yeah, no. Look, you gotta look at the numbers, you gotta look at the data, and if Phil ain't pulling and hasn't been pulling, but isn't that isn't that just true of not to get philosophical, but institutions, right? It's just like we're playing into the ritual. We've stopped looking at the data. We've stopped.
Yeah.
So possums, maybe.
Maybe right. Possums are right. Good morning, DB. Today we are talking about your brokers and why they're not bought in on social media and what you can do. Praise Studios. Gabe, thanks for joining us over on the gram.
Gabe. And the definitely geared towards, brokers and principal brokers and all of our marketing friends at brokerages, right? And normally we're speaking directly to brokers themselves. And I think that what we're going to talk about today is applicable, and that, if you're an individual broker or, you're working on your own stuff, you're going to recognize a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. But it comes from many conversations I have been having now with principals, with people who are, in marketing positions, for brokerages. Wait. Nikki Horn. I'm so cool. Look at my hat. Yes, I did get a very nice gift, a little nifty gifty from our friend Chad Griffiths.
I think we need to make a name tag for Nick that just says Nikki Horn on it now.
He got my phone number and he texted me and he's like, now you're in trouble because I have a direct line, but I saved him in my phone as Nikki Horn, not Nick Ihorn. As it actually is. No, but I don't even know how to begin talking about this, why this is so funny on any other app besides X. And so I'm going to put it down now. But yeah, Chad has written a book called Industrialize. It is the premier text on industrial real estate and everything that you need to know about it, with some really, really excellent prose about floor drains. So please go. It's great. It was my favorite chapter. It was all about drainage. Anyway, so I have been having a lot more conversations with people who are in more of managerial or support roles for other brokers, within their own agencies. And the question that I get the most, and it's a tough place to start the conversation, in many ways, but it's how do we get our brokers posting more on social media? We've given them all of this stuff. We've given them the templates. We've given them the logos. We've given them everything that we think that they need to do it, and they can't do it, or they were not doing it, or they're doing it and they're wasting time and they're not getting any results. And I'm like, okay.
There's a whole lot to unpack there.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. And I think that for them, when they ask me these questions, it's clear to me that they see the value in what is possible, or they have somebody, or they know somebody, right, who is, getting good results, on social media. And so, they're frustrated because they have put in effort. They feel like they've given, they're trying to support them, but I gotta tell you, just because you give a broker a logo and they slap it on a picture, it doesn't mean it's going to be effective. And in many ways, it's truly a waste of their time. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Alan, coming in from California. At least I think you're in California today. If not, let us know.
And it's hard to keep track of some folks. And then folks are going to be traveling again really soon. It's just
there's CCIM's coming up, SIOR's coming up. We've got the gala in April. We have ICSC in Vegas. They just had SVN just had something out in Palm Springs. Yeah. There's conferences. It's conference season is what's happening.
I just sort of feel like it's never not, but
yes, agreed. There's
something going on. So then you have a situation in which the brokerages are, and the people in the support roles are wanting more. They're wanting more, out of the agents, but they're either not posting at all, or they're putting effort into content just when they can, or inconsistently or sporadically. And again, it's not, it's not the most effective. And then they sort of will have put all this effort into something and not get results, so they quit. And so sorry, I have a lot going on in my head right now. So it's when you are beginning this conversation, when I'm having this conversation with people who, are wanting their agents to post more on social media, I think that, again, it's sort of isolating. Okay, so why aren't they? It's not about how do we get them to do it. It's why aren't they?
So are they not bought into it, right? So that could be a challenge right there. There's definitely a disconnect between those that know that social works when you're talking about top of mind awareness. And I think if you don't explain, so I think this the way I see it, this is one of the challenges that brokers have, is that and we're talking principles, is that they know that they need to be on social. They know that their brokers need to be on social, but they don't have a buy-in. Nobody's bought into the idea of doing it. You don't have somebody like a Bob Knackle in your office, or a Beth Azor in your office, or any of the, a Chad Griffiths, or a Sean Ward, or a Justin Ryder in your office that is leading the charge, right? And so everybody's trying to figure this out. And we are such an instant gratification society that when we don't get instant results, we're like, screw it, it's not working. Well, that's not the case. We know, and we've told you all the time, we're very consistent at telling you that consistency is key, right? You have to be consistent. It doesn't matter. I don't care. LinkedIn comes out and says 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesdays through Fridays is the best time to post.
Okay. You want to know what? My top 50 posts I have all posted in off hours. And this is going to be a tangent for a second, but I'm just I honestly, I've sometimes cracked it. I will literally post at 11 p.m., midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Don't at me. Okay. I am getting something out there, and it just happens to be that the time that I feel like I can do the most creative and effective work is between the hours of 10 and 2.
And good morning, Chris Okada, joining us over on the gram.
Oh, what is up? But yes, LinkedIn says, all these things that are the best practices. And generally I agree with them, but it to me, just to wrap up.
Sometimes just doing off the wall stuff, the buy-in is a huge factor. A huge deal in the upcoming years. Yes, Nathan, agreed 100%. Chris says I post at 8 a.m. or scheduled for 7 a.m. See, that's perfect, Chris. If you're talking about LinkedIn, I always think, especially since you're on the East Coast, James Milner and Jonathan Papika have joined us over on the gram as well.
Popping off this morning.
I know, we're popping off today. But as for Chris's point, I think that that's fantastic. And the reason why I say is because people are traveling and they're commuting. And we know that on the East Coast versus the West Coast, where West Coast is more car driven, right? We're not talking about being on trains or subways or whatever. You're more likely to be sitting in a captive audience versus driving. And you should not be on your phone, people. Y'all piss me off, especially all y'all people looking at your crotches when you're driving.
Oh, it's horrible.
It is awful here in Spokane. Like, it's horrible. Anyway, so my point being is that that's a great strategy because people are commuting. If you're thinking about commuting hours, what are they doing? They're answering emails and they're scrolling social before they actually get into the office. So back to
well, and to further derail, like with the advent of like Waymo and like more like different kinds of transit, right? And so like the people who this is interesting actually anthropologically, because you know, in media studies, because the people who commute with public transit, you know, they are a little bit more interactive, right? But the people who are car commuting, which is a lot, and that is very interesting, East Coast, West Coast, like that's going to change in the next 10 years. So we're going to have an entirely new audience. And how is that, you know, like the rise of the podcast, like came from people, they were not on their phones, but they're still consuming. And so now this is very interesting because like, how is the change in the way that people are going to commute is going to change the kind of media that's, you know, that is very interesting to think about. But the point I think I was trying to make about, you know, like the best standards and best practices and things like that is that I like the knowing when there is a captive audience and building a consistent schedule around that. And like, to me, I can't guarantee that something's going to pop off just because I posted at a certain time of night. But what it does tell me is that if you have really strong messaging, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the algorithm, right? And so, like, you know, but again, like we need to start someplace. And for most people, they're not staying up at midnight writing a post on LinkedIn.
Right. And back to the actual to brokers in brokerage and getting your brokers in line, not necessarily in line, but bought in to the idea of posting on social media. One of the challenges, and you and I have been hearing this from a lot of principals, is the fact that they don't know what to post, right? That is one of the biggest challenges. And we've talked about it consistently. If you are sharing just lease, just sold, just whatever, that's not doing anything unless there's a story behind it. You have to have a good hook to get people to actually read it and scroll through or click, right? That's one of the biggest issues. So how do you get your brokers to buy into this idea that that social media is, one, worth it, and two, that they should be doing it on their own? So big challenge. You can't just give brokers a template. Now, I saw this in residential real estate quite a bit. There's actually a fairly large company out there that sells templates that are on Instagram. And they must have just had launched like a whole bunch of templates, because I was on Instagram actually talking about Earl Shiving your social media. Actually, that was the whole point of me doing the Earl Shiving your social media post, was the fact that I was on IG and I did a hashtag search for residential real estate or something like that. And post after post after post after post was a template. All these agents, all they did, or these real estate agents, is they just put their picture in, they changed out their stuff. Some of them didn't even change out their stuff, which was freaking hilarious. Like, that was the funniest shit to me. Like, they left like the at your site where it says like, you know,
yeah, that's tough, man.
Site. Anyway, but they didn't change the copy. It was just bleh. It was such puke, right? That is not, so let me be clear. That is not social media at all. That has nothing to do with social media. That is you being lazy and not putting the effort into it, right? So we don't want to see that. I've talked about Earl Shiving your social. Earl Shive was a painter, a car painter in San Diego, and he would paint any car for just $99.95. And he was like this old dude. He looked like the Crypt Keeper. But when you went to go Earl Shive your car, like if you didn't cover the windows, guess what? Your windows got painted. If you didn't cover your hubcaps with tape, they got painted. That's Earl Shiving your social media, is just a blanket piece of paint when you're painting over something.
I love that.
You can't.
I mean, I hate
it has
that.
To be, It has to be absolutely personalized to each person. So how do we get brokerages to get their brokers to buy into doing social? Well, it's simple. We have to create a roadmap or a template per se, of how brokers can start telling their stories, right? The easiest thing that you can do, and I feel like I'm stealing this from Fly, so I apologize, Fly.
Oh no, I'm vibing, baby. This is good. This is some,
The easiest thing you can do is when we are talking about those just lease, just sold, just blah, 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 you can do a cart. We talk about the cart method all the time. It's not to us. It is very, very much to the Massimo group. And if you look at any of Bob Knackle's Testimonial Tuesdays, that's exactly what those stories are. If you look at the format is very much a challenge, action, result, testimonial, but he's literally not saying the challenge, the action, the result, the testimonial. He's letting you know the backstory of what happened.
I think Mo froze. I'm not entirely sure. I may be frozen, and there's no way to know. I think here, let me see. We'll do it live.
Are we back?
I was trying to click around to get you back. Sorry. I really need to up my jockey game.
What is going on? Are we still
frozen again?
Okay. What is happening?
I don't know. You're back. You're back though. Okay, we were talking about
I don't know what's going on. Ben Nolte Theory has joined us over on the gram.
Fly throwing gang signs. Yeah, I was trying to do C-A-R-T. I used to be in a band, and I like shock, right? But I like all the songs had little like hand jives to do with them. I wasn't cool. Anyway, so we're talking about challenge, action, result, testimonial as a framework that you can use as to help write deal stories so that you're engaging people in the storytelling of the content as opposed to just, oh, here we go. Mo's coming back, as opposed to just slapping a just listed post up there. Because again, if you go back to the tangent in the beginning of the episode about like people are gonna, be driving in Waymos and consuming content in a different way. That's the reason that storytelling is so important. Mo is back. Because again, like if it's just there, if you have their attention and you pull them in, y'all were cooking. Thanks, Nathan. Anyway, so storytelling as the social media format is the thing that more brokers need and like support with and clarity around and consistency around, as opposed to just feeling like I've given you the template, I've given you the brand kit, I've given you the logo, and then they're wondering like why their effort isn't working. I was trying to vamp. I was very like, I felt like a kid that got lost in a grocery store without their mom.
I'm going to be ending the live video on the gram. I don't know what the heck happened. Like I look like we lost all of our audience, but maybe not. Maybe it's just my end.
It's still good on my end.
Okay,
it did just notify me that you turned off, but I'm still live on my Instagram with your updated video. So
okay, we're having trouble streaming to Instagram. Yeah, no shit. I
want to say something about challenge, action, result, testimonial that is actually a little bit of a departure than how is generally spoken about in the space. Because again, I'm like, what are the points of friction? Why are the brokers not doing this? We've given them everything. What is stopping them, right? That's, I mean, this is a huge conversation, right? But I'm having this conversation all the time. The T of testimonial, I feel like is like something that keeps people from getting it out, because they don't have one, they don't have permission to talk about it. It's just sharing some kind of proprietary data, or like there are things that people are trying to protect, and I understand that, but you still need to be able to showcase how you think, right? And again, like, for most people, I'm just like, just write. You don't need pictures. You don't need graphics. That's social media 102, not 101, like in my opinion. So the things that I recommend to people if they don't have a testimonial is to instead replace the T with a takeaway or a thank you. Because if they can write their own personal takeaway about how having overcome the challenges and gotten a result on the deal, what did they learn from that they're going to take into the next one, right?
Right.
What does it mean? What did they learn from that means that they are more qualified or more able to handle or will get a better result for somebody who is going to transact with them in the future? And that's huge, right? And then in lieu of that, and I think that everybody should have that, I really love the idea that, Bob talks about a lot, which is that like every transaction should create an opportunity for another one. It's really changed how I'm thinking about all of my work. But so there should be some kind of takeaway. But if there is not that thing, thanking the people that supported you in the deal is just another great way to wrap that up.
And I always tell people too that if there is no testimonial, the car still drives. Right? Like the car still goes. You still have the challenge, the action, and the result. You don't need the testimonial. You don't need it. You can still talk about the deal, even in as obscure terms as you need to, because you don't want your competitors knowing that you work with some client that they were the tenant rep for, and now you're the tenant rep for, and that's fine. You can talk about the industry. You can talk about how you help them either save rent or they needed to downsize or they needed to upgrade. Whatever the case is, you can still talk about that without giving the particulars, right? And you can put some generic photo of some random building that kind of looks about the building that you were working with, particularly if you're working in industrial, and it still works, right? You're getting attention, you're keeping the attention, and you're building something that gives your brokers the opportunity to talk about their deals, to talk about their authority and their expertise without doing the whole bragging, rah, look at me. I guess that's a big, in conversations that we've had, that seems to be the biggest, almost mental block for a lot of
brokers,
is the whole, like, I don't want to like, rah myself. I don't want to brag on myself. And I'm like, but if you're not doing it, no one else is. And there are ways that you can do it that is not braggadocious, that is not putting, like making yourself seem bigger than you are. You are telling facts about you doing a transaction, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing that you can help your brokers do, if you're principals, is you can absolutely share with your brokers that they should be commenting or they should be creating content based off of what's happening in the market cycle or the news cycle, right? We call it newsjacking. It's not my term. It is a term that I got from Beth Azor, but it's something that I've done since my radio days. And that is taking what is happening and giving your 2 cents. It's almost like applying Gary Vaynerchuk's $1.80 method, right? But to yourself. You are making commentary on what's happening.
I love that.
Right? It's true. It's like your $1.80 method for yourself.
What is that?
Sorry, this is a confidential.
I love what you said about the mental block of not wanting to be perceived in a specific way. Right. And because, man, if your name is in rooms you're not in, you know what I mean? That, everyone is having those conversations. And like the other things that are like those blockages too, in terms of like, again, like you've given them access to all the tools, what is stopping them? It's not knowing, you've given them the tools, but they may not know how to use the tech. Video stuff, like everyone's like, oh, we got to get our brokers on video. And I'm just like, there is, I am actually, as you know, a huge advocate for a lot of really lo-fi off the cuff stuff that just gets it out there. I think that there's a lot of authenticity in that. Right. And so the more your video looks like a FaceTime, maybe that's okay. Right. But it's just like when you start to work inside of anything more than just text, which again, I feel like is the best entry point for brokers, right? Because it's the closest adaptation or translation from what they already do all the time, which is talk to people with words and just put it in a media format, right? Video, and you're being like, why aren't our brokers doing more video? There's so much that goes more into it. It's not just words and editing that, which can already be complicated in terms of, effective storytelling. But like captions, editing, sound, all this stuff, getting it right on the platform, SEO, like all of these things, right? Like there's so like the reason that it's daunting is like, yes, they're, potentially like on the one hand, like they don't want to be perceived in a particular way, or they don't want to be like, like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be come across as like, I'm not trying to be like a social media influencer guy, right? They're worried that they're going to get shunned, or like it's just honestly it's a waste of their time. And I don't mean that it's a waste of their time in the sense that it's not important. I mean, it's not, as you have been saying, the highest and best use of their time, because the only thing, like the thing that they need to do the most that will generate the most revenue is to talk to people and set meetings and like do the cold calls list and do the deals, right? Do you know what I mean? And so it's incredible to me that the brokerages are putting so much pressure on all of the brokers to get this stuff out, right? And only focusing on the fact that like the product seems to be all around them. And this is the other thing, because we all, like many people, use social media for their own personal consumption. And so because it's something people come into contact with every day, there's a disconnect in terms of like, and because again, it is so saturated too. It's just like everybody has this, everybody's doing it. Like the barrier to entry is low.
Right. The barrier to entry is low, but also sometimes the quality of the product being put out is very low. And so when you think, again, one of the things that I hear is like, oh, I'm on LinkedIn and all I see is the same BS. They don't say those words. They say other words.
They do. They get really mad.
Yeah. And it's like your feed is based off of what you're doing with it, right? We've talked about this before. I'll keep hammering it until the cows come home. It's the TikTokification of all the social platforms. I love my feeds, but I've worked on them to create the kind of content that I will consume and I will actually read and engage with. Don't come complaining to me about what your feed looks like if you're not going to take 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, hell, even a half an hour to go through your LinkedIn feed and actually engage and be involved in other people's conversations. I did a post on Sunday. It's a Buffer. It was about Buffer. Buffer is a social media platform. They went through a butt ton of Instagram posts and saw that Instagram posts that were the OG poster doesn't react, but comments back, that kind of engagement is a 30% boost.
Huge.
And then somebody in my comments on LinkedIn was like, hey, Buffer also said that there's like a 40% boost for LinkedIn comments. So when you are actively commenting on other people's posts, when you're actively commenting on your own posts, you're going to get a boost, right? So as we're talking about brokerages and we're talking about brokers, some of these little things that you need to tell your brokers is, and you can't get pissed at them for being on social media, is like, hey, you need to go, like, so say you have an office of 10, right? Like it's a little boutique firm. You got 10 brokers there. And all of you are starting to push your content out on social media. I don't want you reposting somebody else's content. No, that's not what I'm saying. That is not you actually doing content. That's just you reposting, which is good for the original poster, but it's not necessarily good for you. Make sure that you are commenting on that content, right? Instagram, LinkedIn is now tracking impressions for comments. You've probably seen this, where like your comment ends up getting 19,000 impressions, and you're like, what the hell? Like, where did this come from, right? But the point is that you should be actively engaging on other people's posts. You should be actively engaging on your post so you can start boosting that content as it comes out. The more people that comment on your content and the more that you comment on other people's content, the more your wow, how many freaking times can I say content?
I don't know. I was starting to get hypnotized.
Right. The more your content actually gets spread to a wider audience. So knowing that, make sure that if you have a smaller brokerage, or if you, I don't care if you have 50 brokers, people should be actively engaging on other people's content. Wow.
And there is I don't know if people understand the reason why engagement strategies like that are so critical. And it's actually, I mean, it's a function of the machine. When you comment, so like, let's just take this on LinkedIn, for example. Why are things popping off like that? Okay. When you comment on somebody else's post, you become visible to their audience, which is probably, there's probably some overlap, but you are then visible to other people, right, that are not in your direct network. And then your network of people gets pulled to that content. And so it's like our powers combined. It's like Captain Planet. It's like, and then the rings, and then like that. It's great, right? And then like 80s synth in the background. And this is why also too, it's like, going back to, and now it's off the rails, right? But why a strategy like this, or like having a wingman, it's like when Justin and Sean, do their podcast together, it's like the internet just breaks, you know what I mean? Because it's like they both have such large audiences. Or, and it's the same thing as the collab feature on Instagram, right? Like you're pooling your resources to compound and grow exponentially. So there's and again, that is a little bit more like advanced topics in social media, when really, again, what we're talking about is what is keeping people from starting. It's not just access to the tools. It is not just access to the templates. It is needing to understand and be able to create a consistent strategy that is effective, because you're linking your messaging into what you're actually like telling people in a social media format that's tied to specific business goals, and that it is born out of the fact that you do business by having conversations with people, and that those conversations and those touches and those relationships can grow over a long period of time. And so it's really frustrating, I think, to everyone when you have this format that is very much about immediate gratification, when the way that you should be approaching social media as a broker is very much like understanding that you're laying a base, and that by taking consistent action and like staying top of mind, that eventually, again, over the course of all the cycles in the market, or in an individual deal flow, or all the different things like that, like it is going to compound over time. And so people give up too quickly, because they're given a thing and they think like, oh yeah, this is going to work, and then it doesn't work, and then so they don't put any effort into the channel, because it's just more complicated than picking up the phone. And I get it.
And I would like to say that the one thing that I do want to add, especially when we're talking about brokerage and we're talking about brokers within brokerage, is, and it's something you are going to hear me talk about in 2026 until, again, we're going to say it again, the cows come home, is the indexability factor, right? All of your content needs to be indexable. So this is my little warning for all of our friends who are on Instagram, who are on LinkedIn, who have their profiles locked down. If you are using your profile for business, for social media, for if you're using it to get people to like, know, and trust you, that profile being locked down or being private is not doing you any good, because it is not indexable by the search and answer engines. And there was actually a kind of a new thing that I had just heard of, that I sent to Fly on Instagram. I don't know if you saw it, and I'm wondering now if it was.
The notifications are
wild.
It's a wasteland, dog. I gotta get that on lock. Go ahead.
So it was talking about specifically about answer engine, and it was an Instagram strategy where you put copy in the regular place where you put copy, but then you put your AEO SEO content in the first comment. And there was reasoning behind it that, yes, that the search engines and answer engines are indexing comments on these social platforms. So if you have additional information, that's also going to get picked up. Why is this important? Fly and I, we specialize in organic, not paid content, right? Stuff you can find organically that's going to show up on your feed, that's going to show up in the search engines. And if you are not optimizing your copy for the search engines, you are missing out. Another little key point that I think we'll probably talk about on Thursday, and I would love to talk about on Thursday, is YouTube. Another report just came out that instead of Reddit, ChatGPT and a lot of the search engines are now using YouTube to pull content from, right? So if you've been thinking about being on YouTube, if you have a podcast, if you have stuff that you haven't put on YouTube, you definitely need to be getting your crap on YouTube and looking at it from not a perspective of like, I don't have any subscribers. I don't give two shits if you don't have subscribers. I'm looking at the fact that you have content that needs to be on there, and in the written format is going to get pulled up by the search engines.
I mean, it's huge. There's a lot, and there's a lot to think about, right? And
hold on, Ben Nolte on an IG.
Oh, no.
He said, how do I navigate that when I'm in witness protection? Ah, shit.
Oh, Ben. That is so funny. There's a lot there. Okay. So how do I to fly, don't force takeaway. However, there are so many things to think about, to optimize, to build strategy around, to be intentional about if you are expecting to get results out of this platform. And when we get those questions of like, why aren't our brokers doing it? Why, we've given them everything, that they need. You have stopped looking at the bottleneck. What's going to get it to make it happen? Yes, I love this, right?
And Robin says that's the argument I use to get my guys to start posting on YouTube. Yes.
The goal is to increase the surface area of visibility and opportunity to begin relationships and conversations, so that all of the gold that's spilling out of your mouth that gets people to do business with you on the phone is visible to everyone, so that you save more time, you cover more ground, and that you're optimized for search. And those things take time. They take time. And that is why we are not like trying to figure out how to make people go viral, right? No. Two different things.
No, our job is not to make you go viral. Our job is to help you tell your story, so that when people come to look for you, they know your name and they know what industry you work in, and they're ready to transact. I'm not interested in your follower count. I'm not interested in how many likes you get. What I'm interested in is that you are consistent on the social platforms. You are telling your story in the best way that you know how, so that when people see you at a conference, oh, you're so-and-so, I see your LinkedIn posts. I'm happy when my clients come to me and say, hey, I'm getting called Mr. LinkedIn. Good, because they're seeing your content.
Yeah, and it's saving you time. That is ultimately saving you time, because you didn't have to go through all the beginning of that part of the conversation. They know exactly who you are, how you can help, and what results that you'll get them. That's it. And then just like, wow, we can start there. We don't have to go through all this other stuff. Like bingo bongo. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want for people. Because it's just like, and then you can get in there and do your job, which you do best, which is sell buildings by talking to people. Okay. We're way over time.
It's okay. It's because part of it is because I went off. I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. And then another part of it is that we always have a lot to talk about.
So, we always have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So if you are somebody who is in this position, whether you are a managing director or marketing director, you're a principal, you're in some position in an agent, in a brokerage where you would like to be enabling your agents to start posting more, so that you can all start winning. the conversation, let's have a conversation. That's it. Let's have a conversation, because what is keeping them from doing it could be so many things, and it's literally our job to help you with that. That's my pitch.
I was just thinking too, as we were having this conversation, I'm like, why don't we have a course built specifically for brokerages that we can just do this is how you get started.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And yeah, I was
that's
like,
wow. We're building it. We're building it presently. It's happening. I've been working on it for like 2 years. And Mo, there was so much else I wanted to talk about today, but I want to just take a moment to just be like, oh, I love Mo. But as someone who, this is what I do in the business, like I am constantly amazed by what's happening behind the scenes, and I'm learning so much in this role. Am I pointing at your sign, my sign, whatever? I need more coffee.
Anyway, we will be back here on Thursday. We're going to be talking about YouTube because I do. Yes, Robin, you are correct. Why not create a session at CREI Summit? Actually, that's a really good idea. We should be doing, for principals, how to get how to get your people to start buying in on social media and what they need to do. And here's how you as a brokerage principal can give them the tools that they need. See, okay, I'm going to stop. Pull it back in, pull it back in, pull it back in.
Okay. On the topic of CREI Summit, quickly before we go, the submission list, the submissions for the list to be on the CREI list, which include LinkedIn, Instagram, podcasts, X, and there's 2 X lists. One is for brokers, one is for developers and investors. The influential women's list, all of the different lists, the submissions are open. We will send you links if you need them, but they are due February 28th.
They are due February 28th. CREISummit.com is where you need to go. Then you just go to the list. It will say CREI list at the top. And then you click on that button and then boom, it'll have the little button that you do and you fill out all that information. Be one and done. Get all your numbers, one and done. You don't have to wait for somebody to nominate you. You can nominate yourself. Believe me, I've nominated myself every single year. So
yeah, anywho. Don't wait for somebody to do it for you.
Yes, CREISummit.com is where you want to go. Don't forget, you can always meet Fly and myself over in our Social Mastery VIP room. Today, I don't actually have, that would be a good idea. We could actually put together a PDF of we should put together a brokerage PDF of how to get your brokers started. Yeah, that's an idea. Boom, boom, boom. Bingo, bongo. On Thursday, I do want to talk about YouTube. I do want to talk about SEO and AEO and the report that I just read about how ChatGPT is pulling out all that information and really kind of, I think we could give a roadmap on how you can make it work. Again, not looking at subscribers, not looking at views, not looking at impressions. I'm looking at it from the back end part of it of how are we going to get this pulled up into the social or into the SEO and AEO. All right, everybody, have a great Tuesday, and we'll be back here on Thursday. See you later.